Okay, you lovely lot, so rig of the month time and maggot feeder for me this month. I absolutely love this style of fishing. Anything to do with maggots for me, yes please. It's going to capture absolutely everything. And you know, maggot feed will work pretty much all year through, but especially when it starts to cool down. So things that I'm looking for, obviously I'll talk you through the setup in a sec, but I'm looking for, you know, the size of the actual feeders. I don't want to put in loads of bait in, but then potentially, if I'm on a load of chub or ride, I might want to put a lot of bait in, but not to start off with. And then hook lengths. Hook lengths are massive for me, which I'll talk you through in a sec. So coming to the rod first, 10, 11 foot max. You don't really want long rods for this. Nice soft bomb rods as well. You don't want, you know, the powerful action rods that you get from using a method feed or something like that. As its name suggests, the maggot feeder, when you're putting maggots in, potentially you're going to be catching small fish, or by using a more powerful rod, you're going to have hook pulls, which is not what we want. So we've got a nice soft 10-foot bomb rod. Main lines. Now main lines, it's pretty important that you're not using anything thicker than, what we're saying, a 0.20. Anything thicker than that, there's too much friction for your rod rings, so it's slowing your feeder down as you're going to cast it out. So stick to about 0.20 or 0.18 or something like that, and that'll be fine. You know, everyone's got their own personal thought process, what kind of brand they want to use. It doesn't make a blind bit of difference as long as it's 0.20, 5 or 6 pound, perfect. Now coming down to the actual rig itself, oh, reel size as well, between a 3 and a 4,000, I suppose. You don't really want anything too small, just in case you're going to cast it that little bit further. Obviously I'm casting to an island today, and if I cast any further I'll be squirreling, so I don't really want to cast any further than like, what, 35, 40 yards, and that's about comfy on most venues that you go to. Waffling, aren't I? So as I briefly touched upon before, hook length wise, it's very important that you have a selection ranging from, what we're saying, not really sure, I'm going to go from 2 foot up to about 4 foot. A lot of these fish that we'll be catching, you know, the likes of roach, chub, ide, you will catch a lot of them through the water. So obviously imagine that feeder settling, and then your maggots are coming in nice and natural behind it. So definitely play around with that. More often than not though, I'll say that you're going to be on a 2 foot hook length. Just took myself, 2 foot hook length is about right. The things to watch for if you're deep hooking fish, or you're coming back with snotted maggots or no maggots, then obviously you're not seeing the bites, or you're seeing the bites too late, hence the need to get the slammer on every fish. So, you know, just bear that in mind. See where you're hooking them. Obviously if they're in the mouth, then you know everything's bang on and you've seen the bites. So it's only a light hook length as well. I've only got a 0.12 on this. Yeah, you could potentially go heavier, but again, it's the fish for the time of year, and with the water being clear, you are going to miss out on fish if you're not fishing light. So 0.12 hook length. I've got quite a big hook on. I don't like using small hooks for this, because more often than not I'll be using double maggot or even 3 maggots sometimes. So that's a 16s. I'm going to say it's a 911 F1. It's not a proper 911 because that's a little bit too heavy, but a 911 F1, or, you know, Guru F1 pellet, anything like that, that's going to be nice and slow, fall through the water with your bait rather than falling a lot quicker. That will make a difference for you. Now coming up to this little bit here, I've got a quick chain swivelly thing. I don't even know what they're called. What are they called, Jay? Jay's off camera. He's like talking me through what to say. He's holding the board up, so I know what to say. I don't know what they are. They're like quick changey things, but so important. I've just got the smallest one of them on. I think there's like 3 or 4 different sizes in them, but the smallest one of them. And then you can see I've got, you getting in on this, Rich? He's on it, folks. I've got what, 4, 5, 6 inches of twizzled line there, and then a rubber float stop that acts like a boom. So you can see that maggot feeder coming to it there. It's acting like a boom, so obviously you're not going to get entangles. I'll never get entangles, folks, how dare you. And then onto the maggot feeder itself. Now, yeah, you could put the maggot feeder straight onto your line if you wanted to via a snap link swivel, but I like to use these, the Dean Barlow, actually, the Dean Barlow feeder links. I think they're brilliant. You can get them in all different sizes. Where I'm casting to, I'm on a bit of a slope, so there's not much silt there whatsoever, so I've just got the smallest one on. You know, it's one of them, it's just, it rides lovely and smooth up your line. So maggot feeders wise as well, I think it's worth mentioning, I like to use the Drennan ones with the weight forward. They just go lovely and straight. You know, you can change the weight as well, so if you have a bad crosswind, you can change from, what's this one, I think this is a 10 gram one. Yeah, you can change from a 10 up to 15 up to 20 grams, so you're getting the distance that you want to every single time. It's worth playing around with the amount of bait that you're putting in these as well. Obviously I've got the smallest one on here, but again, if you're on a lot of fish, certainly the likes of chub, eyed, roach, you know, they'll feed really well all year through, but especially this time of year. So it does pay around, you know, in regards to how much bait that you're actually putting in that. I'll start off half filling it, and then eventually that'll increase and I'll put loads of bait in. If I need to put more in, I'll just literally just change the size of the feeder, simple as that. And that's about it for the setup. You know, it's the same old thing when you chuck into islands. I don't ever like to go right tight up to start with. I want to give myself sort of 2 or 3 meters and then chase them up and see what's happening. If I'm not getting bites, I'll go closer. If I'm not getting bites towards the island where they might be in deeper water, obviously I'm just going to come off that a bit. So it's a brilliant way of fishing, folks. And also, you know, play around with your feeder. That sounds wrong, that. Play around with your feeder. And then when you've casted it in, sort of like give it them little twitches. Whereas the traditional, you know, like method feeder, don't move the feeder, Tommy Pickering's favourite saying. When you're on like a maggot feeder or a bomber maggot or something like that, you know, definitely play around with that. You know, twitches, you know, 2 to 6 inch twitches along the bottom definitely gets you responses when just leaving it there might not. So play around with that, play around with your hook lengths, and just play around with the feeder. Just sounds wrong, doesn't it? But yeah, maggot feeder, give it a try, folks. Honestly, you'll catch a lot of fish on it this time of year.